Whether it's ancient combat or modern sport, winning is what it's all about.
I have to conquer a skill that I know absolutely nothing about.
But how do you win?
The History Channel car is history.
This man has learned the hard way. Now he's ready to show you.
How to win as a combat archer. When the ability to shoot fast and accurately makes the difference between life and death. Victory and defeat.
And what was it like to be shot at? When nothing could fly farther and faster than a metal-piercing arrow. And you're weighed down by 60 pounds of armor.
Which side would you rather be on? The answer might surprise you.
So steady your nerves, take careful aim, and learn how to win with the bow and arrow.
Right, you all know what this is? The bow, the stick and the string. Now this is a great idea. Our ancestors invented and improved it over thousands of years. Now we are going to teach you how to win as combat archers. We're going to see how long it takes, how good you can get, and then we're going to pitch you against a full-scale assault by knights in plate armor. Seems simple enough. But first, we want you to follow your ancestors and make one bow and one arrow. And we have modern tools, we have flint for the arrowheads, we have string. We also have woods all around us, so go out, get yourself one bow and one arrow. Off you go.
Go that way, guys. Go that way.
The bow and arrow. So important in human evolution, it's been called the third invention, after fire and tools. When eating depended on hunting, it was vital for prehistoric man's survival.
He needed a weapon that had range, accuracy, that could be prepared quietly, that built up its own energy, which could be released instantly. The bow became the most important and highly regarded weapon in the arsenal of early man.
But just try making one of these things from scratch. Not easy, as our team members are finding out. For instance, nobody's told them what kind of trees to cut. Yew or ash are the best. They're not the most common of trees, but they've been the first choice of archers for thousands of years. And most of our people have gotten it wrong. Though I have heard the words yew ash a couple of times.
Alright guys, just sit around and start working on them. I want to see perfect bows and perfect arrows within just a few minutes.
All right, we're hacking away at our ill-chosen wood. We're braiding up our lengths of string. And while all that's happening, let's think about some napping. That's napping with a K, not an N. And it's all about flint, made into arrowheads.
All right, gentlemen, this is an arrowhead. Well, actually, it's about 1,000 arrowheads. Have you ever done flint napping before?
No.
All right, put some goggles on. Now, flint napping is actually relatively easy to get it pretty good, but very, very difficult to get it absolutely right.
Modern man is a clumsy oaf compared to his Stone Age ancestors. Their flint arrowheads were practically works of art. Later, when arrowheads were made of bronze and iron, a huge variety of shapes evolved. There were harpoon points for fish, blunt heads to stun small animals, and barbed heads to wound larger game and cause bleeding. But all of these would have failed completely if there were no fletchings at the other end of the arrow. Fletchings are feathers, leaves or whatnot at the arrow's tail, and eventually arrow makers came to be called fletchers. Think of that next time you turn to the F's in your phone book.
Oh, Mr. Fletcher, I'd like to order...
All we need now is a knock. That's without the K this time. It's what we use to marry the arrow to the bow. And with that, we're ready to go.
All right, guys, this way. Come with your bows and your arrows. Right, you want to make a line back here? Let's try yours.
Let's try that one more time.
Try that one more time. Try that one more time. Not bad. Okay, let's try the next one. You've got this really heavy arrow with a sharp...
if I run into a moose, this will probably do it.
You don't think yours is going to work?
And I'll tell you why.
This is the ninja bow. I see you've actually got some fletchings on there. And it's a really long arrow too, with a pretty fearsome flint head on there.
I figured if the bow thing doesn't work out, I can hit it with the arrow.
There you see what a difference just those little fletchings make. Well, we've made all sorts of bows, some short, some long, some which broke immediately. Arrows of all types, only one with fletchings, and that one was definitely the best. So at least it's given us some appreciation of our ancestors.
Fortunately, we won't have to meet our men in armour with the crude bows of prehistory. Next for the Conquest team, winning with advanced technology, Middle Ages style. Left to their own devices, the team's success in making their own bows and arrows was limited, to be polite.
Yes.
Now we're going to give them some training.
Come on, this way.
And teach them how to win with the genuine articles.
All right, guys, these are the real things. Longbows. This is what you've laboured so hard to try and make. You need certain equipment with bows, and that equipment has stayed the same throughout history. First of all, as you pull the string, you're always going to need something here to protect your fingers. It's called a finger tab. It's a simple piece of leather. As we fire a bow, the string hits the inside of the arm, and after a couple of goes of that, it makes a real mark there and hurts. So you need a bracer. These were just pieces of leather or slate tied around the arm, so the bowstring would slap against them. Bracers, tabs, good bow, and you're all set up.
Right, we've got our equipment in hand, bows, arrows, braces, finger tabs. So now it's time to pull some strings. Bowstrings. There were lots of ways to do it. The earliest was simply pinching the end of the arrow between your thumb and forefinger. When bows became more powerful, fingers curled around to help out. And some people, like the Chinese and Mongols, preferred their thumbs.
The thumb hold, or the Mongolian release, was used by many Eastern cultures. In this, the thumb is wrapped around the string and locked by the fingers. As you draw the string back, it bites right into the thumb. So, you could use a thumb ring to make a smooth, easy release.
And as many Asian warriors found, the Mongolian release was very effective. The draw we will use is the Mediterranean hold. One finger goes above the arrow, two below.
To the left.
We've enlisted the help of Steve Ralphs, an expert archer, to help teach our team.
All right, whole books have been written about what we're about to do, shooting the bow, especially one in 1545 by Roger Ashcombe.
A fine fellow who knew all about archery, but nothing about television. So let me summarize. Roger Ashcombe's 5 points. 1. Standing. Solid, steady, arm out straight. 2. Knocking. String in the arrow's knock. Getting ready for 3. Drawing. Quickly followed by 4. The hold. A pause to be sure all is well. And 5.
Your first shot. Knock your arrow, draw your bow, and relax. We've got 1 arrow in the target.
That's 1 out of 10. Was that yours?
Well, actually, yes, it was.
It was.
But nevertheless...
You've been reading Ashcombe.
Well, we never said this would be easy. But as we are finding, a basic level of skill comes quickly when we've had some chance to practice.
It's only about half an hour later, and 50% of our team's arrows are hitting somewhere on the target. We're using bows of about 30 to 40 pounds. That's not the weight of the bow, that's the amount of pressure required to draw the string back to the anchor point. Now, the anchor point could be the chin, could be the side of the mouth. A really skilled archer would draw the bow right back until the string was beside his ear.
After an hour, there is real improvement. 3/4 of the shots are now good. And we're beginning to think we can win at this game, except for one thing. The team is in agony.
It's one of the major problems of archery throughout history. It was really difficult to find men who are strong and fit enough to be first-class archers. You need a huge amount of upper body strength. The strain on the chest and arms is extraordinary. You need a good health, a good diet, a good eye, and lots of practice, which is exactly what our team is going to get.
But there's more in store for the Conquest team when we change the surroundings and show them what winning with the bow is really like. The team is practicing against targets on the archery range, and even if that's good for them, it can be pretty dull. Let's have some fun and give them a change of costumes and scenery and take them someplace where winning is easy. Now our team is in the middle of the woods, a place that has always been a natural habitat for the bowman and a very dangerous one for the armoured knight. In legend, Robin Hood is said to have made Sherwood Forest impossible to pass through without threat of ambush. It's not hard to see why. Armour is heavy and makes passage through the woods slow and difficult. The archers are after that intriguing black bag and won't think twice about killing to get it. Our bowmen have a tremendous advantage. They are much faster. They can run and they can hide. The prize is a fine set of armour, bound for a night in a nearby castle, and worth enough to support these merry men for a year or more.
Individual archers with the best equipment could be extremely effective, especially in forests. But most medieval battles weren't fought in forests. They were fought on wide open fields, where the commanders had control of their army, and where the cavalry knights could ride to magnificent victories. Most medieval commanders used their archers only for the initial attack in a battle, for siege work, or for mass volleys against dense targets. Archers were neither expected nor allowed to win battles. That was the job of the knights. The bow had a serious image problem.
In medieval Europe, the bow was used by gentlemen only for the hunt. They scorned it as a weapon of war. It was unchivalrous, used by cowardly peasants and mercenaries. Most bows had to be cheap to make and easy to use, requiring little skill to achieve a basic ability. And most archers were just not valuable enough to feed well and train regularly. Still, every so often, they did make a difference, which is why commanders bothered with them in the first place. As the Bayeux Tapestry illustrates, William the Conqueror of Normandy had archers among his troops, while the Saxons of England did not. Until the later Middle Ages, the archer was the most despised man on the battlefield.
But this doesn't make sense. Surely the value of this weapon is obvious. It's an absolute killer. Or is it? I want to show you two things. The first is my bicep. Now, I'm very proud of it. I think it's absolutely magnificent. But a medieval archer would laugh at that. The second thing is my suitcases. Now, this one here weighs 100 pounds, and this one weighs 50 pounds. And I can barely lift them up. The first-class warbow had a drawing strength of 150 pounds. That's about 50 pounds push with the left hand and 100 pounds pull with the right. Except, of course, this is only a 30-pound bow. If it was actually 150 pounds, I couldn't even draw it, let alone shoot it. Now, you would need a first-class archer of great stamina, great strength, and who had trained all his life. Only the English longbowman came anywhere near that ideal, and he was the exception.
England's archers, in fact, were the elite among the bowmen of the Middle Ages. They were so good because the English developed a culture of archery, in which young boys learned and practiced with powerful longbows from the time they could walk. Known for their strength and accuracy, the longbowmen of England became feared on the battlefield. However, our team is like the rest of Europe's combat archers. They were the army draftees of their time. They weren't that strong, their bows were not that powerful, and their aim was not that good. But at least they're getting better.
Our team are well practiced now, feeling confident. But to find out how good they would be as combat archers on the battlefield, We need to give them a new target. A live target. Me.
Today, I'm going to be shot at. So I need some serious protection. Ever since the bow was introduced for warfare, armour has been developed to protect against it. But it's a balance of advantage. You can wear this heavy mail to try and protect against arrows, but it makes it more difficult to move and to fight. The usual arrowhead for warfare was this, the broadhead, wide and flat. Now this could only puncture mail at close range, but if it hit the flesh, it would slash a wide and deep wound. This head is long and thin. This was the one to use against mail. Now, I'm not taking any chances today, so I'm wearing full plate over the mail armour. And when plate came along, this arrow was introduced with a simple bodkin point that could puncture armour. Whatever the type of arrow you were hit with, if you were hit hard, then you were out of the battle. And don't believe what they say in the Hollywood movies. You cannot fight with an arrow inside you, but you can certainly die, which I do not intend to do today, so I'm putting on every bit of armour I can.
Here's what I have in mind. Our 10 archers are now up to speed. Like their medieval counterparts, they can shoot perhaps 5 aimed shots per minute at the straw target at the end of the range. But even a poorly trained lout could shoot faster if ordered. Say, 12 unaimed shots in a minute. A general volley like that could do well against a large target, like a mass of infantry or cavalry. The archer could shoot at his target in 2 ways, at an elevation and straight. In theory, the bowman could loose 2 arrows to arrive on target simultaneously. 1 up, 1 straight. Multiply that by 10 archers and you have 20 arrows arriving on the target within a few seconds of each other. Ouch. But a straw target is hardly the game our team is after. They've heard of my plan, and after all I put them through, who can blame them for wanting a piece of my hide? Even if they are shooting rubber-tipped arrows, and even if I am wearing 60 pounds of armour.
They're incredibly close. Is that it? If you measure this...
Ready! Prepare!
Let's hold it there for a moment, shall we?
Before we go on, let's not forget that the armoured knight on the field worried less about archers and more about other knights on horses. So today's exercise, 10 archers against lonely me, isn't quite complete.
Of course, they won't be shooting at just one man. They'll be shooting at a densely packed mass of us. Come on. Now, we can stay spread out like this, but if we do that, our unit loses cohesion and strength. If we stay spread out, and they have any cavalry, well, they'll ride right through us, cut us to pieces. So, we have to bunch together. Form up. Now, in this closely packed mass, we at least have some protection against cavalry. But we're the perfect target for those archers. Any minute now, they're going to start rapid fire. 10 of them, firing 1 arrow every 5 seconds. In 1 minute, 120 arrows are going to arrive on the target, which is us. Shields up!
On each side, the tension mounts as we wait for the battle to begin.
Advance!
Now, we have to stay closely packed together. As the arrows come in, we must keep discipline. We can't charge them yet. If we do, we'll arrive exhausted. We have to be fresh when we get there. 1 or 2 of us may go down, but most of us will arrive intact. And once we do, those archers are going to be made into soup. Charge! Now, in theory, archers should always have the advantage. They're light troops, highly mobile, they can pick off their target at a distance, provided they are first-class men with the finest equipment. But archers were usually poorly fed, badly paid, poorly trained, and utterly lacking in motivation. In theory, 10 good archers should pick off those men before they got here. But it doesn't quite work like that. Because I'm scared, and I'm hungry, and I'm on lousy pay, and they're getting closer. and the man beside me has just run away, and I know that if I don't join them, then I'm going to die.
So how do you win as a combat archer? You do it by choosing your own turf. Remember the forest? There, the trees acted as obstacles to hinder the knights and give the archers plenty of places to hide. On open ground, you'd need to have extraordinary skill to win against armor. The kind of skill that requires a lifetime of training that our team just didn't have.
First-class archers, like the English longbowmen, could decisively win battles, but they were the exception, not the rule. Archers needed discipline, training, respect. Most importantly of all, they needed protection, a force of cavalry or infantry who could move in to screen them from attack. Throughout most of history, they got none of these things. They simply weren't considered important enough. Our combat team have learned to shoot the bow in a very short time. They've also learned something else as well. If there's one place on the medieval battlefield that you don't want to be, it's among the archers.